Hi church, it's Purity again, and today we're going to be looking at James chapter 5, which starts off with a really direct warning to the rich, people who have lived in self-indulgence and in luxury and really trying to attain that, people who have hoarded wealth, and not just wealth, any wealth, but wealth that isn't going to last, that is going to rot and corrode and disappear eventually. And a lot of what James writes is based off of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. So this section in specifically, you can see Jesus talking about it in Matthew 6 from verse 19, which I'll quickly paraphrase, goes, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." And reading that last verse, like, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also, specifically from the lens of James, who really drives the point about your actions being an outwork of your faith, poses the question of like, do the things that we value, the things that we treasure, reflect our faith in Jesus, reflect our belief in who God is? And it doesn't necessarily have to be financially, but also money-wise, or the energy that we spend, or the relationships that we have, or the characters of ourselves that we value, that we are building ourselves up to be. Do those things reflect our faith in who Jesus is? And a real good example for this is that we've got our care campaign at church this month, throughout the month of November, really trying to fundraise and have gift day towards the things that the church is doing. So stuff like food banks and working with people who are homeless and really trying to serve the poor. In our personal lives, like, how can we contribute towards that and help other people? I've really been praying about that and really been thinking like, God, this is my heart's desires to be with you, and I want my treasures to be found where my heart is, and my heart to be found where my treasure is. And so how can I really take the things that I value and that being God, and how can my actions reflect that, basically? And with James in chapter 5, it's not just rich people, but people who, the way they've gotten rich is by oppressing other people. It's by not paying the poor workers who are working for them. But the encouragement here is that in the end of verse 4 it says, "The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty." And James goes on to talk about patience in suffering and the power of faith-filled prayer. And it's so cool that our cries are heard by God, and not just any God, but like in the end of verse 11 talks about the Lord is full of compassion and mercy. And even in the midst of suffering, it can feel like perhaps we don't feel like the rich, perhaps we feel like the poor. And we go through different phases of life, whether we're in trouble or we're happy. Either way, we get to pray and come to God, and not just any God, but a God who loves us, who hears our cries, who is compassionate and merciful towards us. And the incredible power of in verse 16, I kind of go up and down in all the verses, but in verse 16 it ends off with, "The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective, and thankfully we are made righteous through Jesus and the work of the cross." And so our prayers, whether we're going through a season of richness and joy, or whether we're going through the valleys and the depths of that, we can come to God and do that today again as well. Come to him who loves us so much and cares for us and provides for us, and we don't have to worry about gaining or looking towards earthly desires or earthly riches, but a God who gives such gracious gifts and does so when we ask him, and does so with so much care and love, with things that is so much better, that will last for eternity. So with lavish gifts that are the riches of heavens. And so, yeah, just wanted to really remind us of the good God that we have and his riches for us, and that we can come to him in prayer with where we're at in terms of our heart and where that is, and the actions that we can take for the rest of today, and knowing that he has provided it all for us and has made us righteous through who Jesus is. I hope that helps you in today, and hope you have a great day. See you soon.